Ugh. Anyway, as I was saying. Hi, VT. Hi, Pride. Shameful. Hi, Ash. Hi, Frey. Hi, Juice. I was saying that I like it when you guys use one emote and then it's like a really big emote in the chat next to me here. Big! Hi, Nostro! Oh. They're so funny. Stamps. It's a little army. Hello, guys. It's been like almost a week, huh? My last stream was on Friday last week, right? I was in recovery because, as you know, Mysterious is dead. Oh no, my sound alerts don't work on this page! Oh my god, nobody's ever done it before. Oh no! No! Here, I'll do it for you. What was it? Croissant! 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 I don't know what it was. Croissant! Something like that, I think. Hi, Van! Summer is ending. Yeah. Actually, it's been pretty hot. The other night, I couldn't sleep because it was so hot. I slept a little bit, but not as much as I should have. What have you guys been doing this last week? I got news that I think we got the apartment that we were applying for? I think? Question mark? Because I don't know, the realtor that I'm working with is like very not good at writing emails. And I can't read what she's trying to say. I learned that one of my pet peeves are when professionals can't write professional emails because, like, I'm not trying to read a text right now. I'm trying to know if I've got an apartment or not. Please. Please. She was like, "Oh, good news. I hope this makes your Sunday." Ba 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 ba. Like, but like without explicitly saying like you've gotten it. And they still like, it's like almost like they've approved us, but maybe the owner of the apartment building is still going through people. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I haven't gotten an email back for... Oh my god, I was supposed to check my emails! Dang it. Okay, I'm gonna check my emails really quick while I talk to you guys. It's weird that here's super hot and then suddenly it gets really cold. I was studying for a math test all week and then the teacher puts the paper on my desk and I suddenly forgot everything. Oh, that's the worst. What I would do is not study and then, or like try to pretend that I had... Try to pretend that I had like photographic memory, which I didn't, and then right before a test I would like stare at the pages as if I was absorbing all of the information. I wasn't. Oh my god, a page! Oh my god. Okay, I haven't gotten an email back. I do have to reply to this email. I'm just gonna reply to this email really quickly. Pride, stop! Pride, it doesn't work! Pride, why? A page has breached containment. I did good on another test today. You silly Billy. Okay, I'll write this email. Hello. Wait, no. It's so good to hear from you. Work ASMR. I'm in the office writing an email to another coworker. Oh, my book closed. You can like see me toggling all my things while I type this. Looking forward to hearing back. No. Cool. Wow. We did so much things. Amazing. Okay, I finished. I've been in such a chill mood this week, and now I have huge urge to beat some random Juice, that's so violent. My goodness. My goodness gracious. Like a wild cat, almost. Aw, dang it. I don't know how the... there we go. No! Wait, is the page just stuck? Dang it, we've lost... we lost the page! Then take it off, put it on, open the book. Nice! It's a silly, goofy pastime of yours. Oh my gosh, Juice, that's so toxic. Can't believe this. So yeah, that's what I was doing this weekend. Crying and then maybe getting an apartment. I'm not quite sure. Yay! Biddies! Thank you for the biddies. We got a star. Oh, that jump like helped Juice get the star. I'll have a lot of crying to do yet. I don't think I've cried that much. The amount that I cried on Saturday and Sunday, I don't think I've cried that much in like years. Because it was just on and off and on and off and on and off. I was so sensitive. If you guys don't know, Mista was my Oshi. Actually, Mista was the reason why I really got into VTubers. And like, because I was only watching VTuber clips at the time, but I couldn't actually sit down and watch a full stream of like, still find it so funny. I know, right? It's like the weirdest thing because especially at the beginning, Mista's, Hi, Aqua! The first time I've ever, like, actually... Wait, what was I in the middle of saying? Why is my dang chat so weird? Not my chat, not you guys, my chat box itself. But yes, at the time, I was only watching VTuber clips, and I couldn't sit through a full stream, like someone's full stream. I would try with Ina. I could get kind of far with Ina, but I would pause and then I wouldn't come back to it. And then when Luxium debuted, I don't know why I happened to watch, like I watched them all because it was just I was watching all the debuts at the time, and then I don't know why Mista stuck. I think because he made that weird bark in his debut, the one where he's like woo or woo, and I was like, huh? What's wrong with this guy? Who am I? I'm you. But yeah, and then I could like, he started streaming and I could actually watch his entire streams. It was so weird, especially at the beginning, because Mrs. jokes weren't my cup of tea, especially at the beginning of his streaming career. It like, I don't know, he like played into what he thought that he had to be. So it was very predictable in that kind of sense. But I don't know, I guess the way that he talked and made jokes and laughed was just so good for my brain. One of us! One of us! So I started watching Mista, and then I really started deciding to give streaming a chance. Becoming one. And then I watched every single one of his streams. Probably. I maybe missed like 5 out of like 600. I know. I watched, especially because he streamed exactly while I was on my shift at work, and so I could listen to his entire streams. I've not watched all of his streams. I've listened to all of his streams. So that's why like some games I'll play that he played, but it's still kind of like a blind playthrough because I never watched him play it. I only heard him reacting to it. But now I don't have anything to listen to in the morning when I work. So yeah, I cried a lot. I'll miss him. Thank you for the follow, Lumpy! Whoa, look at the thing on the chat. Holy. Follow by. When do we get to the part where she's crafting Nono PM? Me? Bye, Lumpy. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for following. Thanks for being us. Wait, quick joke. Okay. I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm listening. Yeah. Oh. You made of copper and tellurium because you are CUNTE. Yeah! Thanks. Thank you. That was very nice of you. Bye! Alright. So, that's it, I guess. I waited for someone to get in. They said I can watch Nono? Someone to get in line, they ain't opening, at least oh! Okay, I think I've deciphered it. Today we're just reading, so there's not much to watch. It's mostly just reading. You can watch me open my mouth and close it if you want. Alright, so what happened last time? And... Who is it? Ash, are you okay? Be safe. Your phone dead. Bye. Bye. in last time in previously on Warriors, the new prophecy, Moonrise. The cats woke up in there was like these cats, like clan cats, but they're not clan cats. They're a tribe of mountain cats, and I forget what their tribe name is called. Tribe of Rushing Water or something. They all have really long names, like Brook from the Water. And they're all like going gaga over Stormfur for some reason or another. They're all like, "Oh my god, is it him? God, oh my god, oh my god." And Stormfur's like, something's kind of like freaking them out too. They're all like on edge. They're not like completely calming down. They're all tense. So maybe we'll find out why they're tense today. On Leafpaw's side, I still don't remember what happened. Whatever's happening on Leafpaw's side, I don't feel like is really happening. I always forget. I think she was it last time that she was talking to... Yes, they went to go talk to Wind Clan. And yeah, they tried to talk to Wind Clan. There was a little Tuffled Gray Stripe started attacking Mudfur, Mudclaw. Firestar got kind of embarrassed about that. They were kind of like accusing... Wind Clan's been hunting prey on Thunder Clan territory, so they're kind of like, "Stop hunting on our territory." That was kind of the thing. And then also Firestar was asking like, "Hey, are you suffering from human disease as well as us?" And then he was like, I don't remember what he said. Did he admit to it? I don't think so. Anyway, I think they sort of settled it, but not really. I think we'll find out very soon anyways. We're on chapter 11. So usually what we were doing was we were reading like 100 pages each stream, but last stream we only got up to 40 because I had to end early. So we're only on 147 out of 300. So I don't know if we can read half the book. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll be like really good at reading this time. Who knows? Okay. Let's go. Let's do this. As a reminder, I try not to read the chat while I'm in the middle of a chapter unless something dramatic happens and I have to comment on it. And then I'll greet people and talk to people in between chapters. And also, there was something else I needed to say. Something dramatic. No! Oh, yes. Usually when I start these streams, I suck at reading and then I kind of get better as we go on. So if I stumble over myself over the next 10 minutes, that's why. Take a nap. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. God, our sound just stopped. Loop. Okay. Alright. Chapter 11. Moonlight shone into the cave, turning the waterfall into a sheet of rippling silver. Stormfur felt as though the day had lasted for a moon, and even now the shallow, sandy dips in the cave floor looked as comfortable as his nest among the reeds back at home. Stoneteller had returned and shown the forest cats to sleeping hollows at the side of the main cave, their curved sidelines with sparse layer of moss and feathers. "You may rest here," he meowed. "Stay many days, for as long as you want. You are all welcome." Oh. Once he had gone, Brambleclaw beckoned with his tail for all his friends to gather around. "We need a talk," he mewed. How long do you think we should stay here? Crowpaw's tail lashed from side to side. I don't know how you can ask that, he rasped. I thought we were on a mission. What about taking Midnight's news to the forest? Crowpaw's right, Stormfur meowed, stifling a brief stab of annoyance that he had to agree with the Wind Clan apprentice. I think we should leave right away. Me too, mewed Tawny Pelt. Leaf Bear's coming, and there'll be snow up here. But what about your shoulder? Brambleclaw reminded her. Since their plunge over the waterfall, she'd been limping on 3 legs, and a trickle of dried blood ran down from her shoulder, seeping between her claws. We've got to stay here until the rat bite is better. We'd all get on faster after that. Tawny Pelt's neck fur bristled. I knocked it again, that's all. If you think I'm holding you back, she spat, then just come out and say so. Brambleclaw didn't mean it like that. Feathertail brushed her side comfortingly against Tawny Pelt's flank, taking care to avoid injury. It's more than just a knock. It looks like you've done as much damage as before, and it won't heal if you don't rest. Squirrelpaw looked thoughtful. It sounded as if the tribe cats don't think we should leave at all. What are they all so frightened of? Are we going to meet more danger further on? The other cats looked uneasily at one another. Stormfur admitted to himself that the thought had crossed his mind too. Part of him wanted to stay safely in the cave for as long as they could, if the alternative was unknown terror among the rocks and precipices of the mountains. It'll be risky whenever we leave, Crowpaw pointed out. Okay, I agree about Tawny Pelt, but let's get Stoneteller to fix her shoulder and then go. That's all very well, Squirrelpaw broke in, her green eyes sparkling in the moonlight, but we're all assuming we can leave whenever we want. What do you mean? They wouldn't dare stop us, Crowpaw exclaimed. Squirrelpaw snorted. I'll bet you my next piece of fresh kill that they would. Look over there. She flicked her ears towards the cave entrance. A cave guard was seated on either side, making no secret of the fact that they were keeping an eye on the newcomers. Perhaps they're guarding the cave from enemies outside, Feathertail meowed. We could always try leaving, Crowpaw suggested, the tip of his gray-black tail twitching. Then we'd see what happened. No. Brambleclaw's voice was firm. It would be mouse-brain to leave right now. We're all tired out, and we need to sleep. Tomorrow we'll see how Tawny Pelt's shoulder is, and figure out when we can leave. There was a murmur of agreement. Not even Crowpaw wanted more trouble just then, and it was not long before the forest cats were settled into their sleeping hollows, huddled together against the curious stares that darted at them from all around the cave. As Stormfur prodded his bedding into place, he heard a paw step behind him, and turned to see one of the mountain cats padding across the cave towards him. Warm recognition swept through his pelt as he recognized Brooke by her soft tabby fur and lithe walk. She carried a wad of feathers in her jaws. Dropping them in the sleeping hollow Stormfur had chosen, she dipped her head to him. Stoneteller sent me to make sure you're comfortable. Thanks, Stormfur replied. Did Brooke mean that Stoneteller had sent her to all the cats, or to him in particular? She showed no signs of going to fetch more feathers for the rest of them. True, Stormfur still felt battered from the fall into the pool, but so did his friends. He was not their leader either, who would get special treatment. I hope you'll be happy here, Brooke went on hesitantly. This must be very different from what you're used to. Do you have caves for sleeping in your forest? No, we sleep in nests of reeds and bushes. RiverClan's camp, that's my clan, is on an island. A pang of homesickness stabbed Stormfur as he spoke, and he wondered if he would ever again lie curled up in the warrior's den, listening to the soft sighing of the wind in the reeds. If Midnight was right, and all the clans had to leave the forest, he might never find another home that was so peaceful. Brooke's eyes shone in the moonlight. Are you a cave guard, or... She broke off, scuffling her paws in embarrassment. No, of course not. If you have no caves, then there would be no cave guards. Do you guard your camp, or are you a prey hunter? Our clans don't work like that, Stormfur told her. "We all guard and hunt and patrol." "That must be hard," Brooke meowed. "We are born to our duties, so we know exactly what we have to do. I am a prey hunter," she added. "If Stoneteller allows it, perhaps you would like to hunt with me tomorrow?" Stormfur swallowed. It sounded as if Brooke assumed that the forest cats would be staying for a while. He was not sure either that he liked the idea of asking Stoneteller's permission for everything. They would respect the tribe's leader when they stayed in his territory, but he had no right to give them orders. All the same, it would be fun to hunt with Brooke. He wondered whether to ask her outright if they were prisoners, but before he could speak, the pretty young tabby dipped her head in farewell. "You're tired. I'll leave you alone now," she mewed. "Sleep well. I hope we'll hunt together soon." Stormfur said goodbye to her and watched her retreat across the cave before he settled into the feathers. All around him were soft murmurs of his sleeping friends, but although his muscles ached and his head spun with exhaustion, it was some time before sleep claimed him as well. The sound of paw steps padding past his sleeping hollow woke Stormfur the next morning. He opened his eyes to see sunlight spilling through the cascade of water and into the cave. It reminded him of how they should be following the rising sun back to the forest, and he scrambled out of his hollow, shaking off a feather that clung to his pelt. Brambleclaw was already up, standing a few tail lengths away and watching a patrol of cave guards leave through the main entrance. Their quiet sense of purpose reminded Stormfur of the patrols at home. He padded over to Brambleclaw, who twitched his whiskers in greeting. "Tawnypelt's shoulder started bleeding in the night. I think the muscles have torn open again," the ThunderClan warrior meowed. "I told her to get some more sleep, but it means we'll have to stay here for a day or two at least." Stormfur glanced back to where he could see the smooth curve of Tawnypelt's tortoiseshell fur as she lay curled in her sleeping hollow. Feathertail was anxiously bending over her, examining her injured shoulder, while Crowpaw looked on. Squirrelpaw was still sleeping. Sorry, let me move my mic a little closer. The sight of his sister so close to the WindClan apprentice did nothing to improve Stormfur's temper. "Well, if we must, we must," he muttered. "But sooner or later we'll have to find out why these tribe cats have been quite so welcoming. We know there's something they're not telling us." "True." Brambleclaw was calm, his amber eyes meeting Stormfur's at a level stare. "But we'll learn more if we cooperate with them. To begin with, anyway." "You could be right," Stormfur grunted. Movement at the back of the cave caught his eye, and he spotted Stoneteller emerging from one of the tunnels and headed towards them. Crowpaw and Feathertail spotted him too. Crowpaw prodded Squirrelpaw to wake her up, and all three cats came bounding over to Stormfur and Brambleclaw. Tawnypelt raised her head as Feathertail moved away. "Are we leaving?" she meowed. Stormfur could hear the pain grating in her voice. "I can go on if I have to." Feathertail glanced back at her. "No, we're not going anywhere yet. Try to get some sleep." "Are you gonna ask Stoneteller to let us out of here?" Crowpaw hissed to Brambleclaw. "If he thinks he can keep us prisoner, I'll claw his ears off." "No, you won't," Brambleclaw said swiftly. "You know very well Tawnypelt needs to rest until the rat bite is better. Besides, the last thing we want to do is offend any of these cats. Let me do the talking." Crowpaw shot the tabby warrior a glare, but said nothing more. "I'm sure we're not prisoners." Stormfur spoke more confidently than he felt, trying to convince himself that he had imagined the eerie interest the tribe cats took over him. "Why should we be? We've done them no harm." Maybe we have something they want," Squirrelpaw suggested. The idea was so close to what Stormfur himself had been thinking that he found nothing to say in reply. Besides, Stoneteller was approaching. There was no more chance to talk among themselves. "Good morning," the healer meowed. "Have you slept well?" "Very well, thank you," Brambleclaw replied. "But Tawnypelt's shoulder is badly hurt, so we'd like to stay for a day or two until she's better, if that's all right with you." "Good." Stoneteller's head swiveled towards Stormfur as he spoke, and the glow in his green eyes made Stormfur even more apprehensive. "I will go look at your friend's shoulder and find some herbs to heal her." "The rest of us would like to go hunting," Brambleclaw continued. "We need to stretch our legs, but we'd like to catch our own prey. You can't go on feeding 6 of us while we sit around doing nothing." Stoneteller's ears pricked forward, and his eyes narrowed. Stormfur got the idea that he was not pleased by Brambleclaw's request. However, the healer scarcely hesitated.
Of course, he meowed. We will be glad for your help. Some prey hunters are about to leave, so you can go with them.
As he spoke, Stormfur saw that several of the tribe cats gathering beside the cave entrance. Brook was among them, and Mist, the prey hunter they had met the day before. Stonetiller led the clan cats over to them.
Our new friends want to go hunting, he announced. Take them with you and teach them the way we hunt.
The order given, he padded away again. Stormfur glanced after him, slightly stung that he thought clan warriors would need to be taught how to hunt. Then he realized that Brook was beside him again. Greetings, she mewed. There are so many of us. We'd better split into 2 groups. Will you hunt with me?
Yes, I'd like that,
Stormfur replied, slightly surprised at how pleased he felt that Brook had remembered her invitation on the previous night. Quickly the tribe cats divided into 2 groups. One of them, with Mist in the lead, took Crowpaw and Feathertail, while Stormfur joined Brook's group, along with Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw. Tawnypelt watched them go with a brief flash of fear in her eyes, but as Stormfur left the cave, he spotted the kit mother Star padding over to her with a piece of fresh kill. She'll be fine, Brambleclaw murmured. With any luck, she'll sleep until we get back. It doesn't look like the tribe cats mean her any harm. Seeing the friendliness with which Star spoke to Tawnypelt, Stormfur realized that the Tapir warrior was right. He stepped cautiously along the ledge behind the waterfall, shivering as the spray soaked into his fur, and out onto the rocks beside the pool. As he shook off most of the moisture, he noticed that Craig and a number of other cats were already waiting, their fur streaked with fresh mud. They were strong cats with massive shoulders, unlike the lithe prey hunters. Stormfur guessed they were all cave guards. Catching Brambleclaw's eyes, he muttered, "What are they doing here?" Brook heard his low-voiced comment. "We take cave guards on us with all our hunts," she explained. "We need them to watch for eagles and—" She broke off with a nervous glance at Stormfur, who wondered what she had been about to say. Still, he felt relieved at her explanation. The thought had crossed his mind that the cave guards might not be there to keep an eye on him and his friends, and made sure they did not try to escape. Of course, they would never leave Tawnypelt, but Stonetiller didn't know that. When Brook had explained to Craig that the visitors were joining them on the hunt, the cave guards joined the 2 groups. One of them, with Crowpaw and Feathertail, began to climb the rocks where Stormfur and the others had fallen the day before, while Brook led Stormfur's group further down into the valley. The ground here was hard earth, where a few scanty clumps of grass poked out among the broken rocks. A few bushes straggled here and there beneath the steep rock walls. Though the rain had stopped, the boulders gleamed wet in the morning light. The prospects of prey looked meager to Stormfur's eyes, and he wondered how the tribe cats had managed to find the fresh kill they had shared so generously. He tasted the air and picked up only the faintest traces of prey scent. Brook led her group along one side of the valley, in the shadow of the bushes. Now Stormfur could see why they streaked their pelts with mud. It made them blend into all the rocks so that when they were still, it was hard to see them at all. In contrast, Squirrelpaw's dark ginger fur looked like a splash of blood, though Stormfur's gray pelt and Brambleclaw's dark tabby were inconspicuous enough. All the tribe cats moved silently. Stormfur had to concentrate to make sure his paw steps were just as quiet. Before long, he saw Squirrelpaw halt, her ears flicking up in excitement. "Look, a mouse!" she whispered. Stormfur spotted it too, nibbling on a grass seed a few tail lengths ahead. Squirrelpaw dropped into the hunter's crouch, but instantly Brook swung her tail out in front of her, barring her way. Her jaws firmed the word, "Wait." Stormfur expected Squirrelpaw to make an indignant protest, but the ThunderClan apprentice obviously figured that if she did, she would frighten the prey. She glared at Brook instead, but the young she-cat didn't notice. Her eyes were fixed on the mouse. A shadow flickered over Stormfur. A heartbeat later, a falcon swooped down from the sky and gripped the mouse in its powerful talons. At the same moment, Brook launched herself forward. She sprang onto the bird's back, sinking her claws into its shoulders. Its wings beat furiously. For a couple of heartbeats, it lifted Brook off the ground, only to fall back under her weight. A second prey hunter ran up and helped Brook finish off the falcon. Its wings stopped beating and it lay limp on the rocky ground. And we got a mouse too, Craig pointed out to Stormfur, swiping his tongue around his jaws. Stormfur's eyes stretched wide with admiration at Brooke's hunting skills. What a warrior she could make if she'd been forest-born. Briefly, he imagined her in RiverClan, teaching them his new way of hunting. But he banished the picture almost at once. Brooke belonged here in the mountains, and within the next day or two, he would have to part from her. He felt a strange stab of regret at the thought, and was surprised. How could he already feel attached to a cat he barely knew? Squirrelpaw was staring in disbelief at the dead falcon, all her indignation forgotten. That was brilliant, she meowed. I want to try. To Brambleclaw she added, could we hunt like this home, do you think? There aren't as many hawks, Brambleclaw pointed out. WindClan might try, I suppose. Crowpaw said he'd seen eagles on the moors. Stormfur noticed that instead of scraping earth over her prey until she was ready to collect it, Brooke hid the mouse and falcon by dragging both of them into a crevice in the rock. Then she set off again at the head of her group. This time she led them up a wall of the valley, bounding over some loose rocks and then along the ledge. Stormfur couldn't think of what prey she hoped to find out here. By now he was content to wait and see, aware that these mountain cats had tricks he and his friends had never heard of. They came to a flattened heap of twigs and dried grass, blocking the ledge. There was a strong reek of stale prey. Brooke sprang nimbly over it, and the rest of the cats followed. This is a hawk's nest, she explained. In the freed water season, we can sometimes find hawk chicks. Freed water? Squirrelpaw echoed. I expect she means a new leaf, Brambleclaw replied in a low voice. When the water's freed from ice, I guess. That's when there would be chicks in the nest. Very good they are, too, Craig added, coming up from behind. And it means there are fewer hawks to grow up and prey on us, like this one, he added with a massive leap into the air. Stormfur jerked his head up with a gasp. Just above him, a large hawk had swooped down, its talons extended. But as Craig leaped upward, it veered off, shredding air from under its wings as it slid sideways. Craig came down precariously close to the edge of the rock, regaining his balance with the ease of long practice. Stormfur's respect for him increased. The courage and speed in which the cave guard had attacked the fierce bird matched any skills possessed by the best clan warriors. Thanks, he gasped as he crouched on the ledge and watched the falcon swoop away, many tail lengths below. Craig turned to him, amber eyes gleaming. That's the first thing a chubby learns, he mewed with a purr of amusement. Never forget to look up. Chapter 12! No, uh-oh. Is the guy drilling his walls again in the middle of the night? What the heck is wrong with him? She's hitting on him so hard. She really is. Maybe Crowpaw has some anger issues. Maybe. Hi, Mika Man! Free water? No. No. No free water. Chapter 12. Oh, dang, it's another Stormfur chapter. I thought we were going to go to Leafpaw. Stormfur crouched on the jutting spur of rock and looked down into the valley a couple tail lengths below. The sun was going down on the 4th day since he and his friends had come to the cave of the tribe cats. Although the thought of what was happening in the forest hung over their heads like a swollen rain cloud, they had been unable to move on. Tawny Pelt's shoulder was healing again, thanks to the herb Stone Teller had given her, but it was still too stiff for her to walk. Meanwhile, Stormfur was beginning to think he had gotten the hang of the tribe cat's way of hunting. It depended much more on keeping still and silent than on stalking prey, for among the rocks there was not as much cover as the forest, or even by the river where he used to fish. His ears pricked as he caught the faint sound of fluttering wings, and he peered down into the shadows. A bird had landed just below him and was pecking at the ground. Bunching his muscles, Stormfur sprang. His claws met feathers, and the bird's frantic alarm call was cut off as he killed it with one blow of his paw. Stormfur stood up, his prey in his jaws, and saw the dim shape of one of the mud-covered cave guards approaching up the valley. The fresh kill in his mouth masked the scent, and he did not recognize Craig until the cat spoke. Good catch! You'd make a great prey hunter. Stormfur nodded his thanks, but Craig's words made him slightly anxious. Did he really mean you will make a great prey hunter, or had he meant you would make a great prey hunter? The cave guards sometimes seemed to assume that Stormfur intended to stay with the tribe for good, but there was no opportunity to ask what he meant. Brooke and the rest of the prey hunters had just appeared, and the whole patrol set off back to the cave, collecting the prey they had caught earlier on their way. When they reached the pool, Stormfur set down his load for a brief rest before climbing the rocks and negotiating the ledge behind the waterfall. Negotiating? The sun had set, and the peak was outlined against a sky the color of blood. Stormfur shivered, trying not to picture blood being shed back at home in the forest. However happy he felt to be hunting with the tribe, they had to move on as soon as they could. Brooke padded up beside him, her eyes shining in the evening light. "A good day's hunting," she purred. "You have learned our ways well, Stormfur." A warm glow spread through him from ears to tail tip. Even more than before, he knew how much he would miss her when he had to leave. In these last few days, she had become a friend. Even her strange accent had begun to sound familiar. He guessed she felt the same, at least. She always asked him to go hunting with her, while the rest of the forest cats, if they hunted at all, went with other groups. Stormfur wondered what Brooke really thought of him. Would she miss him when he had to go? He opened his jaws and picked up a strong, rank scent. It was like nothing he had ever smelt before. A bit like a cat's, but harsher and tinged with carrion. He felt his neck fur rise with a premonition of danger. What's that? Negotiation. Brooke's eyes stretched wide with fear, but she did not reply. Already the rest of the hunting patrol were gathering up their prey, hurrying for the safety of the cave. Craig bounded over and almost pushed Stormfur up the rocks. Glancing up, Stormfur thought he spotted a shadowy movement near the top of the waterfall, but he wasn't sure. Then he had to concentrate on keeping his footing on the slick, wet stone of the ledge, struggling to see around the half-grown falcon in his jaw. No cat tried to explain the reason for the sudden panic, and Stormfur had learned by now that there would be no point in asking. In the cave, he carried his prey over to the fresh kill pile and went to find his friends. Spotting them near their sleeping hollows, he headed towards them, dodging around a couple of tubies who were training with one of the cave guards. They were using unfamiliar fighting rooms. Stormfur's pelt itched to join in and learn, and teach the tribe cats a few river clan tricks too. Maybe later, he promised himself. The other clan cats were all gathered around Tawny Pelt, who was on her paws, twisting her head to examine her shoulder. Feathertail's tongue rasped busily over her fur. "It's much better," she meowed. "There's no swelling at all, and the wound's healing cleanly. How does it feel, Tawny Pelt?" The Shadow Clan warrior flexed her injured shoulder, then dropped into the hunter's crouch and crept a few tail lengths along the cave floor. "Stoneteller certainly knows his stuff," she reported. "I don't know the herbs he used, but they're just as good as the burdock root. Shoulder's a bit stiff, that's all," she added, springing up again. "It'll be fine if I keep exercising it. I just wish I could get my claws at that rat." "Then it's time we were leaving," Brambleclaw mewed. "I'll have a word with Stoneteller and we'll set off first thing tomorrow." "Right!" Crowfur's eyes flashed. "They'd better not try to keep us here." "They won't." Feathertail pressed her muzzle against his side. "I'm sure you're worrying about nothing. The tribe cats have been nothing but kind to us ever since we got here." They'll probably be glad to see the back of us." Squirrelpaw agreed cheerfully. "They're bound to be short of prey when Leaf Bear comes." "It's nearly here," mewed Feathertail. "The rocks were white with frost this morning." "Right," Squirrelpaw waved her tail. "So they wouldn't want us sitting here stuffing ourselves." Stormfur could see from the look Brambleclaw gave his clanmate that he was still worried, but he said nothing. Instead, it was Crowpaw who spoke, noticing for the first time that Stormfur had padded up to join them. there you are, he exclaimed, his lip curling unpleasantly. Decided to join us, have you? Getting bored with your new friends here in the tribe?
Don't, Feathertail murmured, flicking him with her tail. Stung, Stormfur stalked up to the young WindClan apprentice.
If he's got something to say, let him say it. Only that you spend all your time with them. Maybe you'd like to stay with them for good. After all, things are going to be pretty tough when we get back to the forest.
Don't be stupid, Stormfur retorted. Turning his back on Crowpaw, he saw that all of the others were looking at him gravely, as if they half agreed with what the WindClan cat had said. Come on, Stormfur went on, alarmed. What have I done? Gone out hunting a couple times? That's all. You said yourself, Brambleclaw, that we should catch our own prey while we're here. What makes you think that I care any less than you what happens to the forest?
No cat thinks that,
Feathertail mewed soothingly.
He does.
Stormfur twitched his ears at Crowpaw. This isn't about the dreams, is it? Just because I wasn't chosen by StarClan. You haven't had more dreams, have you? And not told me? He unsheathed his claws, hating that they scraped against stone rather than the soft riverside earth or a tangle of reeds. Crowpaw, he could understand. The apprentice had always been difficult, and he would fight with StarClan themselves. But that the others might think him less loyal. Even his own sister. It was almost as bad as the time when Tigerstar had merged two clans together, and he and Feathertail had nearly been killed by being half-clan.
It's almost as bad as that? Holy. That's a pretty drastic comparison.
Feathertail at least should remember that and understand. Stormfur stifled a flash of guilt as he remembered how comfortable he felt among the tribe, but he was determined to remain loyal to RiverClan. No, we haven't had any more dreams, Brambleclaw replied. Settle down, Stormfur and Crowpaw. Stop annoying him.
Oh, settle down, Stormfur, and Crowpaw, stop annoying him. We have more problems enough without that.
It's that waterfall, Tawnypelt meowed unexpectedly. The noise of it, day in and night, it's driving me mad. StarClan could be sending us every sign under the sun, but we'd never hear them. I'll be glad when we're out in the open again and away from this place. There was a soft snarl in Crowpaw's voice. We need to get back to the forest and defend it like warriors should. Stormfur can come or not.
Shut up, Mousebrain, Squirrelpaw snapped. Stormfur's just as loyal as you.
Stormfur blinked gratefully at her. Of course I'm coming with you, he meowed.
Then let's eat and let's get a good night's sleep, Brambleclaw growled. It might be our last chance for a while.
Stormfur looked up and flinched, surprised to see that while they had been talking, several of the tribe cats had gathered and were watching them with serious faces. Craig stepped forward. Why do you talk about leaving? He meowed. You'll never make it through the mountains in the season of frozen water. Stay with us until the sun returns.
We can't do that, Squirrelpaw exclaimed. There's trouble back home. We told you that when we arrived.
We're grateful for the offer, Brambleclaw meowed, more diplomatically, brushing his tail across Squirrelpaw's mouth to silence her. But we have to go. The tribe cats glanced at one another, their necks' fur starting to bristle. Suddenly, they looked threatening. Several of their powerful cave guards moved to stand between them and the entrance, and 2 or 3 of the kit mothers began anxiously herding their kits towards the nursery tunnel. The meaning was clear. Stormfur knew that if they tried to leave now, they would have a fight on their paws. Spotting Brooke near the back of the group, he thrust past a cave guard to stand in front of her. What's going on? He demanded. Why are you threatening us like why are you treating us like prisoners? Brooke would not meet his eyes. Please, she murmured. Are you so unhappy here that staying is such a terrible thing? Unhappy isn't the point. We're on a mission. We don't have a choice. Stormfur whirled around to question Craig, and the cave guard avoided his glare, his glance, his gaze. How did I read literally 3 other words than the word that it was? And he knew that their friendship was being brushed out of loyalty to the tribe, for reasons he could not begin to guess. He had believed that the tribe cats liked him for himself, but the pain at their betrayal tore him like eagle's talons. "Fox tongue to this!" Crowpaw muttered, trying to force his way past the cave guards. Craig raised his paw, and another cave guard thrust Crowpaw back with a furious hiss. The WindClan apprentice's bristling fur and lashing tail showed that he was ready to attack both of them at once. "Wait," Feathertail murmured, pushing between Crowpaw and the guards. "Let's find out what all this means." "It means trouble," Crowpaw snarled. "No cat is going to stop me from leaving." He shouldered his way past Feathertail and leaped on Craig, bowling the huge cave guard over. Craig's hindpaws battered his belly, but before the fight could go any further, Brambleclaw fastened his teeth onto Crowpaw's scruff and dragged him off. The apprentice spun around to face him, eyes blazing. "Get off me!" he snarled. "Then stop being so mouse-brained," Brambleclaw hissed, just as furious. "These guards could turn you into crow food. We have to find out what they want." Stormfur hated to admit defeat, but if they fought their way out tonight, even supposing they could, they would have to face a cold night on unfamiliar mountainside. And looking around at the lean, well-muscled cave guards, barely out of breath from the tussle with Crowpaw, Stormfur knew that they could not hope to survive a fight without injury, and that would make their journey harder than ever. Why didn't Midnight foresee this? He wondered desperately. Or had she foreseen it and kept it hidden from them? He saw that Stoneteller had emerged from his tunnel. Now perhaps we'll get some answers, he thought. The cave guard stepped back to allow their leader to come closer to the clan cats. Brambleclaw padded forward to face him. "I think there must be some misunderstanding," he began. Stormfur could see his efforts to stay calm. "We have to leave tomorrow, and your tribe doesn't seem to want us to go. We're grateful for your help and shelter, but—" He broke off. Stoneteller wasn't listening. His eyes glimmered like pebbles on a stream bed. Oh my god. His eyes glimmered like pebbles on a stream bed as he gazed around the group of cats. Raising his voice, he meowed, "I have received a sign from the tribe of endless hunting. It is time for a telling." "A telling? What's that?" Squirrelpaw mewed. "Maybe it's like a gathering?" Stormfur murmured. "But there aren't any other tribes to meet with." "Then maybe it's something to do with the tribe of endless hunting." In spite of his fears that they would not be allowed to leave the cave, Stormfur couldn't help feeling curious about discovering more of the tribe's strange beliefs. The cave guards gathered more closely around the clan cats and began to herd them towards the tunnel from where Stoneteller had just emerged. "Back off!" Tawnypelt snapped at one of them. "Where are you taking us?" Stormfur wondered that too. Until now, he had assumed that the second tunnel just led to Stoneteller's private den. "To the Cave of Pointed Stones," Stoneteller replied. "There, many things will be made clear to you." "What if we don't want to go?" Without waiting for a reply, Crowpaw launched himself at the nearest cave guard, a cat almost twice his size. The cave guard casually swatted him with a huge paw, sending him half stunned to the floor of the cave. Good God. Feathertail spat at the guard and lashed out a paw, claws extended. Stormfur felt his neck first stand on end, but before a real fight could break out, Brambleclaw hissed, "No! If we're going to get an explanation, we'll listen to it. Then we'll decide what to do. Do you hear me, Crowpaw?" The apprentice, scrambling to his paws with his fur torn and tail fluffed out, glared at him but said nothing. "Get a move on," growled one of the guards. Stormfur stumbled, almost losing his balance as the nearest guard butted him towards the tunnel. It took all his self-control to move on quietly. Then he realized that Brooke was beside him. There was something like relief in her eyes as she mewed. "Don't worry, everything will become clear soon." "I'm not worried." Stormfur's voice was cold. He had thought they were friends, but she had betrayed him. "Can't keep us here forever." He was almost pleased when she winced. "Please," she whispered, "you don't understand. It's all for the sake of the tribe." Stormfur curled his lip and turned away. He padded after Tawnypelt into the passage, with a couple of cave guards close behind. In the darkness, he heard Stoneteller's voice raised in a soft chant. "When the tribe of endless hunting calls, we come to listen." More voices answered from behind Stormfur, not just the cave guards, but more of the tribe cats pressing into the tunnel. In rock and pool and air and light on water, through fall of prey and cry of kit, through scrape of claw and beat of blood, we hear you. The voices echoed through the shadows. Stormfur saw moonlight filtering in from somewhere ahead, and Tonipilt's pricked ears outlined in gray. He stepped out into another cave, and for a moment all his fears and frustration vanished as he stood with his mouth dropped open in awe. This cave was much smaller than the one they had just left. A jagged rift high in the roof let in a shaft of moonlight that bathed the floor in watery gray light. Stormfur was standing amid the forest of pointed stones, many more than in the main cave. Some of them grew up from the floor, while others hung down from his head. A few of them had joined together as if they were propping up the roof, pale yellow and rippled with tiny streams of water trickling down to a pool on the hard stone floor. Earlier that day, rain had fallen through the hole to leave a pattern of puddles around Stormfur's paws. The roar of the waterfall, so loud in the outer cave, had sunk into a whisper, faint enough that he could hear drops of water falling from the roof. All the clan cats were silent, the same awe which Stormfur felt shining in their eyes. The place reminded Stormfur of Mothermouth, as well as being in a moonlit cave. There was the same sense of being in the presence of something greater than himself. But this was not the home of StarClan, but of the tribe of Endless Hunting, and would they even care about cats from territories far away? A shiver went through him and his mind as he formed a prayer to StarClan. Guard us, then guide us, even here. The cave guards nudged the clan cats further into the cave, while Stoneteller stalked ahead of them until he stood in the center of the forest of stones. There he turned to face the rest of the cats. We stand in the cave of pointed stones, he meowed. His voice was high and expressionless. Moonrise is here, caught in rock and in water as it has always been and always will be. It is a time for a telling. We call on the tribe of Endless Hunting to show us their will. Show us your will, the other tribe cats responded in chorus. Almost all of them had pushed into the cave behind the clan cats. The air was growing warm with their bodies and damp, misty breath. Moving like a shadow, Stoneteller padded to and fro, peering into the puddles. His eyes shone in the moonlight, and the mud on his fur looked more sinister and stone-like than ever. Brooke had told Stormfur that her leader had been given 9 lives by the tribe of Endless Hunting, just as the clan leaders were given 9 lives by StarClan, but he had found it hard to believe until now. Outlined in watery light and surrounded by strange points of rock, Stoneteller looked in possession of more power than all the forest cats put together. At last the leader of the tribe paused beside one of the biggest pools and murmured, We greet you, tribe of Endless Hunting, and we thank you for your mercy in saving us from the last Sharptooth. We thank you, the tribe cats murmured in response. Stormfur tensed. Exchanging glances with his friends, he saw his own confusion reflected in their eyes. What did Stoneteller mean? What was Sharptooth, and why did the tribe need to be saved from it? Why is... Squirrelpaw began, only to be reduced to silence by a hiss from a nearby cave guard. Stoneteller went on. Tribe of Endless Hunting, we thank you for sending the promised cat. We thank you, the tribe cats responded again, their voices growing stronger. Raising his head, Stoneteller commanded, Let him stand forth. Before Stormfur could protest, 2 of the burry cave guards thrust him forward. Taken by surprise, he slid sideways into a puddle, shattering the moonlight in glittering splinters. A gasp of shock rose from the tribe, and he heard a cat mutter, An evil omen! Fighting to stay calm, he shook the water off his paws and walked forward until he stood beside Stoneteller in the center of the pointed stones. What are you doing? He demanded. Stoneteller raised a paw for silence. His eyes glowed in the moonlight with unconcealed triumph as he murmured, Do not question. This is your fate. Glancing around, Stormfur saw that all the tribe cats were gazing at him with the same expectation in their eyes and kind of joy, as if he were the most wonderful sight they had ever seen. It is your fate, they repeated. He had been right all along. The tribe had singled him out as special, and now he was going to find out why. "The time has come," Stoneteller intoned solemnly. "The promised cat is here, and at last we will be saved from Sharptooth." "I don't understand," Stormfur burst out. "I've never even heard of Sharptooth." As if his words had broken a spell, his friends pressed forward to stand beside him, only to be shoved back again by the cave guards. Squirrelpaw spat, and both Crowpaw and Tawnypelt flexed their claws on the cold stone, but Brambleclaw held them back with the word of warning. The cave guards clearly did not want to fight either. They kept their claws sheathed, only shouldering the forest cats into a tight group. "Sharptooth is a huge cat," Stoneteller began, his voice hushed with fear. "He lives in the mountains and makes the tribe his prey. For many seasons now, he has been picking us off, one by one." "He looks like a lion," Craig added, and asked, "Do you know of lions?" "We have legends of Lion Clan," Stormfur replied, still wondering what Sharptooth could possibly have to do with him. "Lions are known for their strength and wisdom, and they have a golden mane like the sun's warm rays." "Sharptooth has no mane," Stoneteller meowed. "Perhaps he lost it because he is so evil. He is the enemy of our tribe." His voice was bleak, his eyes shining cold with memories. "We feared that he would not rest until every cat of the tribe had been killed."
"But then the tribe of Endless Hunting sent us the promised cat."
Stormfur's head whipped around as he heard Brooke's voice. She had drawn close to him and was gazing at him, her eyes filled with admiration.
"Stormfur, you're the chosen one. You'll save us all. I know you will."
"How can I?" A slow anger had begun to burn inside Stormfur, replacing his bewilderment. "What do you expect me to do?" "Before the last full moon, the tribe of Endless Hunting sent a prophecy to us," Stoneteller explained. "They say that a silver cat would save us from Sharptooth. We knew as soon as we saw you by the pool that you must be the cat who was promised to us." "But I can't be," Stormfur protested. "I come from a forest a long ways away, and I've never seen a Sharptooth." "That's true." Brambleclaw padded forward to stand beside Stormfur. "We're sorry that Sharptooth is threatening you, but our clans at home are in danger too." "Maybe even worse danger," Feathertail added anxiously. "We have to go." Stoneteller flicked his ears. Without a word, the cave guards surrounded the forest cats and began thrusting them towards the cave entrance, all except Stormfur, who was surrounded by a separate patrol. Feathertail desperately tried to break through to her brother, but the nearest cave guard bowled her over with a swipe of his paw. "Take your paws off her, you piece of fox dung!" Crowpaw spat, hurling himself at the cave guard and raking his claws over the tribe cat's ear. The two of them rolled on the ground in a flurry of claws until Brambleclaw hauled Crowpaw away. "Not now!" commanded the furious apprentice. "It won't help any cat for you to get ripped to shreds." "We should fight!" snarled Crowpaw. "I'd rather die fighting than be trapped here." "Just say the word," Tawnypelt hissed at her brother. "I'll tear their pelts off and feed them to the eagles."
"StarClan, help us!"
Feathertail cried out as she was forced back into the tunnel entrance.
"Show us you haven't abandoned us."
"Do not fear," Stoneteller meowed reassuringly. "This is the will of the tribe of Endless Hunting."
Stormfur felt as though he were falling into deep, dark water as he saw his friend shoved away from him, back to the main cave. When he tried to follow, Craig and the other cave guard moved to block his way. "Oh, over there," Craig meowed, pointing with his tail to the other end of the cave of pointed stones. "You'll find a sleeping hollow ready for you." As Stormfur faced him with a burning in his eyes, Craig added awkwardly, "It won't be so bad. You'll kill Sharptooth for us, the tribe of Endless Hunting says so, and then you'll leave if you still want to." "Kill Sharptooth!" Stormfur exclaimed, remembering the rank scent and the shadowy shape he had seen at the top of the waterfall. That must have been a Sharptooth, prowling close to the cave entrance. No wonder Brooke and the rest of the patrol had been so frightened. "How can I do that if all of you have failed? This is a mouse-brained idea. You're all mad."
"No."
That was Stoneteller again, padding up to stand at Stormfur's shoulder. You must have faith in the tribe of endless hunting. The sign was clear, and you came, just as they promised. My faith is in StarClan, Stormfur retorted, trying to hide how scared he felt inside. Had the spirits of his warrior ancestors really betrayed him? Abandoned him, not betrayed him. Go to your sleeping hollow, Stoneteller meowed. We will bring you fresh kill. Your coming has been long awaited, and you need to have no fear that we will ill-treat you. No, but you'll keep me prisoner, Stormfur thought desperately. He padded to the back of the cave to find the sleeping hollow Craig had indicated and found it warmly lined with dried grass and feathers. A couple tail lengths away was another stoop in the rocks, also lined with bedding, where he guessed Stoneteller slept. Stormfur leapt the water from the nearest pool and lay down with his head on his paws, trying to figure out how to escape. But it was hard to think, with the pain of betrayal still throbbing through him. He had really believed that the tribe cats liked him, without any of the questions that shadowed his RiverClan friendships about his parentage or loyalty. Instead, they only wanted him to fulfill their prophecy. A few moments later, Brooke appeared, a rabbit in her jaws, and set it down timidly in front of him. I'm sorry, she whispered. Is it really so bad to stay with the tribe? I want to be your friend, Stormfur, if you will let me. She hesitated, and then added, I'll stay with you now, if you like. It is our way to groom each other's fur, especially in times of hardships. We call it giving of close comfort. She must mean sharing tongues, Stormfur realized. Not long before, he would have been delighted at the thought of sharing tongues with Brooke. Now the idea outraged him. Did she really think he would want to be close to her when she had betrayed him and lied to him? Stormfur? Brooke's eyes shone with compassion, but their glow was like a fire shearing Stormfur to the heart. He turned his head away without saying anything. He heard a faint gasp of pain from Brooke, and then her paw steps vanishing down the tunnel. He had been hungry at the end of the day's hunting, but now the thought of eating made him feel sick. Still, he forced himself to choke down the fresh kill, because he knew that whatever happened next, he would need all his strength. He curled up in the sleeping hollow and lay staring at the tunnel where his friends had disappeared. Craig and the other cave guard were on duty at the entrance, and as Stormfur watched, Stoneteller emerged from the shadows and slipped between the guards, back to the main cave. Between them and Stormfur lay pools of shimmering water, lit by a cold moonlight. They reminded Stormfur of the river, but he missed its endless murmurings and the glittering and splash of moving water. As he closed his eyes and tried to sleep, he reflected sadly that he need never have come on this journey at all. He hadn't been chosen by StarClan, had never been summoned by a dream, but right now he would give anything for the whole adventure to have been a dream, if only he could wake up in the morning to find himself back in RiverClan. Whew! That was a long chapter.
Just what I needed to keep me company during the workday. Aw, Corey. Silver moon. Randomly hovers a fish in front of Nono. What the? What are you doing with a fish? This is so funny to me because it's probably just a really simple scene and the cats are like, dude, bro. I mean, it's probably really pretty in general too, right? Like looking at moonlight in a cave. But the like, what are they called? Stalactites? Stalactites? Those are like, they wouldn't know what those are. Those would be really cool to cats. Did you know there are a total of 21 letters in English? Wait, I made a mistake. I forgot that you are a cutie. Please. Hi, John. Thank you for the hearts. I'm drinking cranberry juice today. It's very yummy. I've been in the mood for chocolate, but I don't have any chocolate, so it's pretty sad.
I don't have anything on my table.
Oh, dang, it's only been an hour and we only read 2 chapters? Holy, that was a long chapter. What page are we on? Okay, we're almost to 200. Oh, back to Leafpaw. Chapter 13. Leafpaw shifted uneasily in a pool of moonlight and listened to the soft sighs of the wind in the oaks at Four Trees. She and Cinderpelt were on their way to meet with the other medicine cats at Mothermouth, and already the half moon was high in the sky. They're late, Cinderpelt meowed. We're wasting moonlight. Little Cloud, the Shadow Clan medicine cat, settled himself more comfortably in a hollow in the grass. They'll be along soon. Cinderpelt's tail tip twitched. We need all the time we have at Moonstone, especially tonight. We have to find out what we should do about the Two-Legs. Leafpaw tried to curb her own impatience with the River Clan medicine cats, who should have met them long before now. Perhaps sharing tongue with Star Clan wasn't so important to them when their own territory hadn't been invaded by the two-leg monsters. Everything was quiet now. The two-leg monsters slept at night, but Leafpaw knew they were still there, squatting on the scarred ground among the trees that hadn't destroyed yet. The silence in the forest was unnatural, without the small sounds of prey that always seemed louder at night. Her belly rumbled at the thought of prey. Cinderpelt had given her traveling herbs to quell her appetite before they set out, but they didn't help her hunger when she couldn't remember the last time she had been fully fed. All the clan cats were suffering. Lack of food had begun to weaken them so that they couldn't run as fast and catch what prey there was. Aw, dang. With Leaf Bear looming even closer, crisping the leaves and sending them spiraling to the ground with a chilly breeze, Leafpaw couldn't see what help Star Clan might give. To her embarrassment, her belly rumbled again, loud enough for the others to hear. Little Cloud shot her a sympathetic glance. Blackstar sent warriors to fetch rats and crow food from Cairn Place, he told Cinderpelt. His eyes darkened. We haven't had any sickness yet, but it's only a matter of time. I hope you remember the herbs and berries I gave you when you were ill, Cinderpelt meowed. I've been collecting them. I know I'll need them soon. And tell your clan not to touch any crow food, Cinderpelt advised. Fresh rats might be okay, but not Cairn. Little Cloud sighed. I've tried, but what can I do when Blackstar gives the orders? Most of our cats are too hungry to care what they're eating. Just then, Leafpaw caught sight of Mudfur, the River Clan medicine cat, and his apprentice, Mothwing, climbing the slope from the river. She leaped to her paws, delighted to see her friend again, though she could not suppress a pang of envy that Mothwing looked so well fed, her long golden fur sleek with good health. At last! Cinderpelt growled as the two cats came up. I was beginning to think a fish might have jumped out of the river and swallowed you. Well, we're here now. Mudfur hardly paused for greeting, but led the way around the top of the hollow towards the Wind Clan border. Cinderpelt and Little Cloud followed, while Leafpaw and Mothwing brought up the rear, side by side. I got into trouble about that fishing lesson, Leafpaw whispered. I knew I should have not have eaten your prey. Your leader's got no right, Mothwing meowed indignantly. We're medicine cats. Still, we shouldn't have done it, Leafpaw replied. Medicine cats have to stick to the warrior code as much as any cat. Mothwing just snorted. I think I'm getting on really well, she mewed for after a moment. Mudfur taught me about herbs to use for green cough and black cough, and the best way to get thorns out of pads. He said he'd never seen a cat do it so neatly. That's great, Leafpaw purred. She didn't mind her friend boasting because she knew how insecure Mothwing felt. Because she was the daughter of a rogue, many of her clan thought that she should never have been allowed to train as a medicine cat. Mothwing was desperate to prove them wrong. As they approached the Wind Clan border, Leafpaw felt a twinge of nervousness. It was not long since the confrontation with Wind Clan, and she knew that their warriors would still be hostile. They seemed determined to keep their starvation a secret, even though it was horribly obvious from their scrawny frames and dull eyes. Would they be desperate enough to attack medicine cats if they found them on their territory? She said nothing. Firestar would be furious if she gossiped with Mothwing about the fateful encounter. None of the medicine cats paused as they crossed the border. They hurried on, their pace set by Cinderpelt's limping gait. Coming up to the top
of a gentle rise, Leafpaw found herself looking down on the worst scene yet of two-leg devastation. The scar on WindClan territory was much longer and wider now than when she and Sorreltail had first seen it. A couple of two-leg monsters squatted here, moonlight glittering off their shiny pelts. If a hill got in their way, they just gorged a path through it, leaving earth piled high on either side. They gonna devour the whole moor? Shuddering, Leafpaw bounded on behind her mentor. Not far from the WindClan camp, Barkface, the WindClan medicine cat, emerged from behind a gorse bush. Even though Leafpaw had been prepared for him to look hungry, it was a shock to see how thin he was, barely more than a walking skeleton covered by his ragged pelt. Dang. Cinderpelt went up and touched noses with him sympathetically. "StarClan be with you, Barkface," she mewed. "And with all my clan." Barkface heaved a great sigh. "Sometimes I think StarClan wants every one of us to join them. Not even a kit left to keep the warrior code alive." "Perhaps they will show us what to do when we share dreams at Moonstone," Cinderpelt tried to encourage him. "It's getting worse for WindClan." Mothwing's amber eyes were wide as she murmured the words to Leafpaw. "They've been stealing fish from the river again, you know. Hawkfrost caught a couple of them, but chased them off. They have to find prey somewhere." Leafpaw knew that what the WindClan warriors were doing was wrong, but she couldn't blame them. Not when the river was full of fish, enough to feed all the clans. Bleedingly, she realized that Firestar was right. The two legs were destroying the forest, but in doing so, they were also destroying the invisible boundaries between the clans as well. Maybe the cats would survive only by joining together after all. Mothwing paused to scent the air. "Hang on, I can smell a rabbit. At least, I think it's a rabbit. It smells funny somehow. Yes, look over there." She gestured with her tail at a dip in the moorland where a small stream... Oh, I lost my place. Where a small stream chattered over stone. Lying beside it was a small, brown-furred body. "It's dead," Leafpaw pointed out. Mothwing shrugged. "So was Crowfoot. I imagine WindClan can't afford to be too fussy." "Hey, Barkface!" she called. "Look what I found!" She bounded down the slope towards the rabbit. "Stop!" Barkface commanded. "Don't touch it!" Mothwing skidded to a halt beside the limp bundle of fur and looked back up the slope. "What's the matter?" Barkface patted down to join her, followed by Leafpaw and the other medicine cats. Wearily, he approached the rabbit and sniffed it. Leafpaw sniffed it too, and recognized the harsh tang she had picked up when she and Sorreltail had visited WindClan territory. Her stomach churned, and she swallowed to stop herself from gagging. Whatever had happened to this rabbit, it wasn't fit for food. "Yes, I thought so," Barkface murmured, his eyes clouding. "There's that scent again." Facing the other cats, he explained quietly. "Two Legs have done something bad to the rabbits in our territory. They all die. And if cats eat them, they die too. We've lost half our elders and nearly all of our apprentices. Jesus Christ." Well, I don't know how many cats that is, but that's a lot of cats that are dead now. How do I add that to the death toll? There was horrified silence. Compassion laced through Leafpaw. Tallstar had said nothing of this when he confronted Firestar. The proud WindClan leader would rather let other clans think his cats could not catch prey in their territory than that their own fresh kill was killing them, one by one. "You couldn't help them? You think I didn't try?" Barkface sounded desperate. "I gave them yard to make them sick, just as we do for deathberries. Two of the strongest pulled through, but most of them died." His claws tore up the grass in front of him. His eyes burned with grief and frustration. "What hope is there for us when even our prey kills us?" Cinderpelt limped up to him and pressed her muzzle against his side. "Let's go," she murmured. "We'll ask StarClan for guidance about this as well as everything else." "Shouldn't we bury the rabbit?" Leafpaw suggested as the cats began to climb the slope again, "in case some other cat finds it?" Barkface shook his head. "There's no point. No WindClan cat would touch it now." His lips stretched into a wry snarl. We know better than to trust fresh kill from inside our own borders. His head bowed, tail drooping, he plodded on across the moor towards Highstones. Dang, WindClan is going through it. Leafpaw blinked in the silver light from the moonstone, letting it soothe her until she felt like a fish sinking into deep water. Here in the cavern, far below Highstones, it was easy to believe that StarClan ruled everything, and the troubles of the world above were too far away to matter. But medicine cats came to the Moonstone only so that they could learn the wisdom of StarClan and take it back to help their clans. In these dark days, they needed that wisdom more than ever. The other medicine cats were lying with her around the stone. Mothwing was next to her. The River Clan cat's eyes were wide with wonder as she gazed at the shimmering crystal surface. Trying to focus on her thoughts, Leafpaw pushed away the questions that nagged her about Mothwing and her aggressive brother Hawkfrost. Mothwing had been right to be here. StarClan themselves had approved her with a moss wing left at the entrance of Mudfur's den before she had finally been accepted as a medicine cat apprentice. With a quick plea to StarClan for guidance, Leafpaw closed her eyes and pressed her nose against the stone. Cold instantly seized her like a claw. The hard surface of the cave floor vanished from beneath her, and she felt as though she were floating in darkness. "Squirrelpaw! Squirrelpaw! Can you hear me?" she called silently. She was desperate to make sure that her sister was still alive and safe, and more than that, if the chosen cats had discovered the answer to the troubles that had come upon the forest, then seeking out Squirrelpaw might give her some hope that she could share with the others. But tonight something seemed to be blocking her thoughts. The silence was broken by the sound of rushing water, loud as thunder, and then the darkness shifted to show her a waterfall, crashing endlessly down into a pool below. Before Leafpaw could properly understand what she was seeing, clouds swirled over it. Out of them came a terrible snarling, and she caught a glimpse of sharp fangs. She sensed the presence of warrior ancestors and reached out for comforting presence of StarClan, but she caught only a flickering vision of lean, prowling cats, their fur streaked with mud and blood. Their eyes glared with desperation, as if they stared at some terrible sight that was hidden from Leafpaw. She thought she cried out to them, but they did not answer, and she was not even sure that they were aware of her. A wind howled around her, sweeping away all the visions away, and Leafpaw woke up with a jolt. She blinked in confusion, staring around the cavern that was dark now except for the faint glitter of silver pelt. In the dim light, she could just make out a cat crouched beside her, a beautiful tortoiseshell with a white chest and white paws. The sweet scent of herbs clung around her fur. For a heartbeat, Leafpaw mistook the cat for Swirltail, until she remembered that her friend was back in ThunderClan camp. And where were Mothwing and the medicine cats? Leafpaw realized that except for herself and the strange tortoiseshell, the cavern was empty. The tortoiseshell cat opened her eyes and turned to blink at Leafpaw. "Greetings," she meowed softly. "Do not be anxious for your sister or your clan. The time of great trouble has come, but the clans are strong and have the courage to meet it." Leafpaw froze. She had woken up in another dream. Her eyes widened as she realized who the tortoiseshell must be. She had heard many stories of the medicine cat who had befriended her father when he first came to ThunderClan and guided him in his dreams on his path to becoming leader. Are you Spotted Leaf?" she meowed. The tortoiseshell cat bowed her head. "I am. I see that Firestar has told you about me." "Yes." Leafpaw stared curiously at the she-cat. "He told me how much you helped him." "I loved him as well as any cat," Spotted Leaf purred. "Maybe even more than I should have done as a medicine cat. If StarClan had not chosen me to walk their path, things might have been different." Her eyes narrowed with affection. "I never had kits of my own, Leafpaw, but I cannot say how happy it makes me that Firestar's daughter will be following the path of a medicine cat. I know that StarClan has great things in store for you." Leafpaw swallowed. "May I ask you something?" she meowed hesitantly. "Of course. Can you see Squirrelpaw? Is she all right?" There was a long pause. "I cannot see her," Spotted Leaf replied at last, "but I know where she is. She is safe and on her way home." "Why can't you see her if you know where she is?" Leafpaw challenged. Spotted Leaf's gaze shone with gentleness and compassion. Squirrel Paw's in the paws of different warrior ancestors now. What do you mean? Leafpaw remembered the fearsome blood-streaked cats that had sensed when she tried to make contact with Squirrel Paw. In her dream, her eyes flew wide and she sprang to her paws. Whose warrior ancestors are these? They can't be more than one star clan. Spotted Leaf laughed softly. The world is wide, dear young one. There are other cats who are guided by other spirits. There is always more to learn. Leafpaw's head whirled. She stammered, I thought... StarClan does not control the wind or the rain, do they? Spotted Leaf prompted gently. They do not command the sun to rise or the moon to wax and wane. Do not fear, little one, she went on. From now on, wherever you walk, I will walk with you. Her voice began to fade. Her fur paled and her shape seemed to melt into darkness. For a heartbeat longer, Leafpaw could see her white front shining like a star in her glowing eyes. Then she was blinking awake, emerging from her dreams into the cavern where Mothwing and the medicine cats were stirring around her. Is it true? She wondered, too dazed to speak out loud. Are Squirrel Paw and the others in the paws of another clan? Are there really powers other than Star Clans? And does that mean that Star Clan won't be able to save the forest after all? As she staggered to her paws, she could still catch a trace of Spotted Leaf's sweet scent. Chapter 14.
Hi, Zaku! Thank you for the follow! And thank you for the compliment! I know, I love my model. So cute. If you look at my credits, this one is my Poche model. Poche. That was the artist. And thank you, Ven, for reminding them. Or, I guess not reminding me because Zaku wasn't here. For saying that. Yeah.
Oh, dang, we're already on 190? Okay, let's keep going. Feathertail gazed back helplessly at the tunnel entrance. Wait, what? Oh my god, we're in Feathertail's POV? Holy! What the? Okay. Chapter 14. Feathertail gazed back helplessly at the tunnel entrance as the cave guards thrust her out of the tunnel and back into the main cave. She felt unseen claws tearing into her heart with every step she took away from her brother. What did Stoneteller mean that Stormfur was the promised cat who would save the tribe from Sharptooth? True, her brother was a strong and brave warrior, more skilled at fighting than any of the other cats on this journey. But if Sharptooth was as huge and as terrible as the tribe cats said, even the bravest warrior do. Please, she meowed to one of the cave guards, a huge mud-colored tabby whose name was Scree beneath winter sky. Scree. His name is Scree? You can't keep Stormfur here. He belongs with us. There was sympathy in the tribe cat's eyes, but he still shook his head. No, he is cat, sent here by the tribe of endless hunting. They told us the silver cat would come. But... Don't try to argue with them, Crowpaw growled into Feathertail's ear. There's no point. If we have to fight to get Stormfur out, then that's what we'll do. Feathertail looked at the wind-clad cat's bristling fur and the fierce courage in his eyes. We can't, she mewed sorrowfully. There are too many of them. I don't see why the tribe is so worried about Sharptooth. Crowpaw's voice was scornful. We haven't seen a whisker of him since we arrived, so what's the big deal? Be thankful you haven't seen him, Scree meowed. Crowpaw bared his teeth, but this time he didn't spring at the guard, just turned away and touched his nose to Feathertail's muzzle. He would have fought the whole of StarClan for her. Feathertail knew that, but he had to see that this time fighting would do no good. The cave guards herded the clan cats across the cave until they reached their sleeping hollows. What's going on? Brambleclaw mewed in surprise. Aren't you throwing us out? Into the night? The mud-colored guard sounded indignant. We're not cruel. It's cold out there and dangerous. You can eat and rest here, and then leave in the morning. With Stormfur, Tawnypelt challenged. Scree shook his head. No, I'm sorry. The cave guards left them, except for Scree and another who remained on watch a few tail lengths away. A couple tubies trotted over with fresh kill in their jaws.
Isn't it great?
The first of them mewed excitedly, dropping the prey he carried.
No more Sharptooth. Shut up, beetle brain,
growled his friend, giving him a sharp prod in the flank.
You know Craig told us not to talk to them.
They retreated quickly, glancing around to make sure no cat had spotted them disobeying orders.
I'm not eating that,
Crowpaw spat, glaring at the small pile of fresh kill.
I don't want anything from the tribe.
Great StarClan! Tawnypelt let out a noisy sigh. How's that gonna help, you stupid furball? You need your strength twice as much now, to save the forest and to save Stormfur. Crowpaw muttered something inaudible, but made no other protest as he dragged a falcon out of the heap.
Well?
Squirrelpaw demanded when they had divided the rest of the fresh kill and were crouched close together to eat.
We're not putting up with this, are we? What are we gonna do?
There's not very much we can do, Brambleclaw pointed out. There aren't enough of us to fight the cave guards.
You're not gonna leave him.
Squirrelpaw's green eyes were wide with disbelief. Brambleclaw paused. Feathertail could see an agony of indecision in his expression. She began to shiver. Since they left the forest, she had come to respect the young warrior's skills as the unelected leader of their group. If he could not see what to do, then what hope was there for Stormfur? We should never have come into these mountains, growled Tawnypelt. It's 100 times worse than the two-leg place. Midnight mentioned cats in a tribe, so she must have known about Sharptooth. Why did she send us this way?
Must have been a trick all along, Crowpaw hissed. I knew we should have never trusted that badger.
But why would she trick us? Brambleclaw objected. StarClan sent us to her. And she warned us about the two-legs destroying the forest. If we can't trust her, then nothing makes sense. Feathertail wanted to agree with him, but she suddenly remembered something Purdy had said when they were discussing which way to go at the edge of the wood. Purdy tried to tell us not to come through the mountains. She meowed out loud, and Midnight wouldn't let him speak. You're right. They both knew. She looked around and saw her alarm reflected in the faces of her friends. Midnight said we would need courage, Brambleclaw reminded her after a heavy pause. She said our path was laid out for us, so even if she knew about the tribe and Sharptooth, there must be a way we can get through this. That makes me think we must still be following the right path.
So you say,
Crowpaw sneered. I don't suppose it matters to a ThunderClan warrior if a cat from RiverClan gets left behind.
And what does it matter to WindClan?
Squirrelpaw fired up in defense of her clanmate.
I'd have thought you'd be delighted if Feathertail's brother weren't here to keep an eye on you.
Crowpaw sprang to his paws, hissing a challenge. Squirrelpaw's green eyes blazed. Horrified, Feathertail forced herself to get up and shoulder Crowpaw away. Stop it, she cried. Can't you see you're making it worse? Feathertail's right, meowed Tawnypelt. What clan we come from doesn't matter here. 4 of us are half-clan anyways. Have you ever thought that StarClan might have chosen because of that? We quarreled among ourselves, then we'll lose everything. Squirrelpaw's gaze seared into Crowpaw for a moment longer before she stepped back and began to tear mouthfuls of rabbit. Crowpaw looked into Feathertail's eyes and then ducked his head and murmured, Sorry. So maybe we can discuss what to do without ripping one another's fur off? Tawnypelt meowed tartly. When no cat answered, she went on. Don't forget that StarClan didn't choose Stormfur in the first place. He's only here because he wouldn't let Feathertail come on this mission alone. She paused. Her eyes grew troubled as she added, What if the tribe cats are right, and he is the promised cat who's going to save them from Sharptooth? That's Mousebrain, Crowpaw exclaimed. Feathertail was not so sure. Tawnypelt had put words to the fear that she had also felt squirming inside her ever since Stoneteller had first told them about the prophecy. Sure, Stormfur's fur wasn't what she would call silver, but it was darker than that. More like gray stripes. But he had come into the world of the tribe cats just as their warrior ancestors had promised. Does that mean... Her voice shook as she had to start again. Does that mean that we're going to leave him here? No, it doesn't. Brambleclaw sounded determined. These are not our warrior ancestors. StarClan has nothing to do with this tribe. But we can't get him out by fighting, so we'll have to do everything another way. In the morning, when they tell us to leave, we'll go without trouble. Then we'll sneak back and rescue Stormfur. The cats were silent for a moment, glancing at one another as if they were weighing the idea. Feathertail began to feel the first faint of stirring hope. Then she noticed that the cave guards were watching them suspiciously. Had they overheard? She flicked her ears, and the clan cats, following her gaze, huddled more closely together. Crowpaw spoke softly. "That's easy to say." He sounded doubtful, but he wasn't sneering anymore. "Still have to get into that inner cave. The whole place is crawling with cave guards." "We should wait until it's dark," Tawny Pelt suggested. "And the noise of the waterfall will hide our footsteps. Paw steps," Squirrelpaw added optimistically. Crowpaw still looked uncertain. "I'm not sure. Haven't you noticed the tribe cats are so used to it that they can hear a kit squeak on the other end of the cave?" Feathertail knew that he was right. She looked around, wondering if the darkness or the crashing of the torrent would help them at all. Moonlight rippled into the cave through the sheet of thundering water, but shadows fell thickly around the walls. Perhaps it would be possible, but however hard it seemed, they had to try. Stormfur was her brother. I'm willing to give it a try," she announced. "You can leave me behind if you want." "Well, I, for one," Crowpaw began. "Don't try to stop me," Feathertail interrupted. "I know we have to get StarClan's message to the clans before they're destroyed along with the forest, but they don't need all of us. I can stay here." "Who said I was going to try and stop you?" Crowpaw. I think I gave him a too deep a voice. "Who said I was going to try and stop you?" Crowpaw demanded indignantly, his neck fur bristling. "I was going to say I'll help you. But if you don't want me, don't be mouse-brained." Feathertail gave his ear a quick lick. "Sorry, I misunderstood. Of course I want you with me." Wow, they're flirting right in front of everybody. Holy. "I don't think we should split up." Brambleclaw's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "It's all of us or none. We came on this journey together and we'll finish it together. And that means Stormfur as well." More briskly, he added, "Let's finish eating and get some sleep. We'll need our strength." Feathertail tried to obey him, forcing down the young hawk the young Tubi had left for her. Though she felt sick with apprehension, she tried to focus her thoughts on how loyal her friends from the other clan were. It was hard to imagine that they would ever be able to separate back into their different clans when they returned to the forest. How would she ever go back to her regular life without them? She curled into her sleeping hollow, tired enough to sleep, and sat up again. What was that? She turned her head to one side and listened. She could hear voices whispering, but there were no cats nearby, except for the clan cats, and they were all asleep. Twitching her ears, Feathertail froze. The voices were coming from the waterfall, almost hidden among the rustling, hissing water. She strained to make out what they were saying. "The silver cat has come," they seemed to whisper. "Sharptooth will be destroyed." "No," Feathertail argued silently, instinctively. She didn't stop to figure out who she was talking to. "You're wrong. Stormfur is not your cat. He must come with us." She waited for a reply, but the voices had vanished into the roar of the water, and Feathertail began to wonder if she had even heard them at all. A long time passed. Moonlight crept across the floor of the cave and faded before exhaustion overcame her and she finally fell into a troubled sleep. A paw roughly shaking her shoulder woke Feathertail, and she looked up to the stern face of Craig. "It's time to go," he announced. Other guards were rousing her friends. As she stumbled drowsily out of her sleeping hollow, she saw Stonetiller standing at the entrance of the tunnel that led to the cave of pointed stones. 2 more cave guards stood alert beside him, and Feathertail thought she could make out more of the tunnel itself. The tribe cats were making sure that Stormfur was too heavily guarded for any sort of rescue attempt. "We will take you to the edge of our territory and show you the best way through the rest of the mountains," Craig meowed. "What about Stormfur?" Brambleclaw asked, shaking a feather from his pelt. "We can't go without him." The ThunderClan warrior's last attempt to free his friend peacefully was doomed to failure. Craig was shaking his head before he finished speaking. "You can't take him with you," he meowed. "His destiny is to stay here and save our tribe from Sharptooth. We will care for him and honor him." "So what? Oh, so that makes it all right, then?" Crowpaw muttered disgustedly. The cave guards gathered around the clan cats and forced them towards the entrance. Feathertail noticed that Crowpaw was still limping from the blow he had taken from the cave guard the night before. "Are you okay to travel?" she murmured in his ear. Don't have much choice, do I? He meowed disagreeably, only to turn to her a moment later and touch his nose to her muzzle. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Just before they reached the waterfall, Feathertail heard her name and turned to see Brooke bounding towards her. I wanted to say farewell, she mewed as she came up. I'm sorry it turned out like this, but without your brother, Sharptooth will destroy the whole tribe. Feathertail gazed into the young prey hunter's eyes. She knew Brooke believed what she was saying, but she couldn't forget how Stormfur had thought that this cat was his friend. Stormfur didn't make friends easily, a legacy of being half-clan, always feeling as if he had more to prove than other warriors, as if he could never fight hard enough or catch enough prey. Feathertail had watched the she-cat win her brother's trust, but now she had betrayed him, and would probably see him die in a battle with Sharptooth for the sake of her tribe. Come on. Crowpaw brushed his tail against Feathertail's flank, already damp from the spray of waterfall. Feathertail turned away from Brooke without another word. As she padded along the narrow path, she strained to hear the voices in the thundering water, but today she only heard the ceaseless pounding of foam. Whoever you are, she vowed silently, we will come back for my brother. He is ours, and his destiny lies far away from here. The forest cats traveled through the mountains until almost sun-high. The cave guards kept pace with them on either side, their gaze fixed on the path ahead. They did not even stop to hunt, and the tense silence made every hair tingle on Feathertail's pelt. She tried to study every rock, every tree, every twist in the path, hoping that they would be able to follow their own scent trail back to the cave. The rocky slopes were more familiar to her now, but all the paths still looked exactly the same. In contrast, the cave guards seemed to know exactly where they were going, sometimes doubling back to avoid boulders or cliffs. Once Craig led them down a slope of shifting scree to a mountain stream. Drink, he ordered, flicking his tail to the tumbling water. Crowpaw's eyes narrowed as he gazed at the slippery rocks by the waterside, and Tawnypelt exchanged a suspicious glance with her brother. Not gonna push you in, Craig mewed irritably. You must learn to drink when you can in the mountains. Still wary, the forest cats crouched down and lapped up the icy water. The air was crisp and cold, with the sun shining in a pale blue sky. Wind ruffled their fur, but there was no sign of rain to watch away the scent trail. To Feathertail's relief, Crowpaw's limp didn't seem to be bothering him, and he grew less apparent as the young cat exercised his injured legs. Tawnypelt was also managing well, although Feathertail still saw her flinch once or twice when she had to cope with a difficult leap. She did not complain. After a scramble over steep rocks, Craig brought them to a halt. This is the edge of our territory, he announced, though there was no scent markers to indicate a border. You must go alone from here. Relief stabbed through Feathertail. She couldn't wait to get away from the cave guards and their stern, silent looks. Head for that mountain, Craig went on, pointing his tail at a sharp peak, his upper slope streaked with the white of snow. A path winds around it to greener lands beyond. You should be safe from Sharptooth until night falls. Feathertail thought he put too much stress on Sharptooth, as if there were other dangers lurking among the rocks. Her suspicion hardened when she saw one of the other guards give him a warning glance. Go on, the tribe cat meowed roughly, giving her no chance to ask questions. Well, there's still plenty of daylight. He dipped his head to Brambleclaw. Farewell, he meowed. I wish we could have met in happier time. Our tribe have much to teach each other. There's nothing I want to learn from you, Squirrelpaw muttered, and for once Crowpaw looked as if he agreed with her. I wish that too. Brambleclaw shot an icy glance at his companion to silence them. But there cannot be friendship between us while you keep our friend prisoner. Craig bowed his head again. He looked genuinely regretful. That is the fate of his, as our warrior ancestors have promised, just as yours have made a promise to you. He called the rest of his patrol around with a flick of his tail, and all the cave guards waited while Brambleclaw led the clan cats up the grassy slope. Soon, grass gave way to loose stones, leading upward a ridge of spiky rocks. Brambleclaw paused at the top. Feathertail glanced back to see that Craig and the other cave guards were still watching them with unblinking eyes. They're making sure we leave, Tawnypelt growled. That means they'll probably be looking out in case we come back. Crowpaw shrugged. Their loss. He flexed his claws against the bare rock. If we meet in a patrol out here, they're crow food. I admire Crowpaw's confidence. He's been smacked around at least 3 times, and he still thinks that he can take them in a fight. Brambleclaw flashed him a glance. We'll do this without fighting if we can, he mewed. Remember that we can't afford injuries this far from home. Meanwhile, he added, let's keep going and make them think we've given up. He led the way between the rocks. On the other side, the land fell away sharply into a grassy hollow. A spring of water bubbled out of a crevice and fell into a small pool. 2 or 3 bushes grew beside it. The wind brought Feathertail the scent of rabbits. Can't we stop here? Squirrelpaw pleaded. Remember what they said about drinking what we can, when we can? We could hunt and rest until it's time to go back. Brambleclaw hesitated. Okay, but we better keep watch in case the cave guards come to check on us. I'll take first watch, Tawnypelt offered. My shoulder's fine, she added, and I'll call you if there's any trouble. Very cautiously, stepping as lightly as if she were stalking a mouse, she slid back between the rocks and disappeared. Squirrelpaw was already bounding down the hollow, calling out, Come on, I'm starving! She'll frighten every scrape of prey from here to High Stones, Crowpaw grumbled as Brambleclaw took off after her. Feathertail watched as Brambleclaw caught up to the younger cat, and the 2 of them went on together, their pelts brushing. They had become very close during the journey, even if they didn't quite realize it yet. Don't mind Squirrelpaw, she told Crowpaw. Let's go and see if there are any fish in that pool. I could give you a lesson, just in case you want to catch any fish when we get home. She broke off and looked awkwardly down at the ground. It'll be a useful thing to know, whatever happens. Crowpaw brightened. Okay. He paused as if he wanted to say something more, then without a word bounded down the slope after the 2 ThunderClan cats. Feathertail followed, her mind buzzing with her feelings for Crowpaw as well as her fears for her brother. She approached the pool and gazed down into its blue depths. She and Crowpaw had plenty of time to figure out what they would do when they got back to the forest. She tried to push away the tiny, persistent voice that kept telling her that cats from different clans couldn't be together without causing a whole heap of trouble. She shook her head impatiently. Right now, the only thing any of them should be thinking about was finding prey to give them strength for Stormfur's rescue. A silver flash caught her eyes, and her paw shot out, claws extended, to hook a fish. Come here, she instructed Crowpaw, so your shadow doesn't fall on the water. And when you see a fish, be quick. Crowpaw came to join her, picking his way with a grimace around the muddy edge of the pool. He settled down at her side, but instead of peering into the water, he looked into her eyes. I know I shouldn't ask this, but will you still see me when we go home? He glanced down at his paws and added, I want to be loyal to my clan, but there's never been another cat like you, Feathertail. Feathertail's pelt tingled with happiness and excitement. She touched his muzzle with her nose, sensing an uncertainty that made it hard for him to believe that she could like him enough to cross clan boundaries for him. I know how you feel. We'll have to wait and see. It might not be so bad. With everything that's happening in the forest, the clans will have to come together. To her surprise, Crowpaw shook his head. I don't see how. There have always been 4 clans. Well, maybe always is going to change, she meowed quietly. Now, about that fish? Crowpaw brushed his shoulder with his tail and crouched down over the water. A few heartbeats later, his paw shot out. A fish curved up out of the water and fell wriggling on the ground. Crowpaw grabbed it in his jaws before he could slide back into the pool. It could slide back into the pool. Feathertail jumped up and pressed her nose against his shoulder. Well done! We'll make a river clan cat out of you yet. She broke off, confused, and Crowpaw blinked in understanding. His eyes were shining. Feathertail wished their companions could see this side of him, eager and enthusiastic, instead of the defensive, difficult face he chose to show them. She was distracted by a movement at the top of the rocks and looked up to see Tawnypelt crouched on the smooth stone. The cave guards have gone, the Shadow Clan warrior called down to them, but I'll stay on watch. Not long after, Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw returned from their hunting expedition with a couple of rabbits and a few mice. Along with Feathertail's and Crowpaw's fish, there was enough fresh kill for all of them. They each took a turn on watch, but there was no sign of any tribe cats. They spent the rest of the day in the shelter of the bushes. Feathertail felt more at home out here in the silent open air than the stuffy, noise-filled cave. Clouds gathered in the sky, gray and ominous, covering the sun. The wind dropped. The air became heavy and damp, as if there was a storm coming. At last, the daylight faded and the shadows began to thicken in the hollow. Brambleclaw rose to his paws. "It's time," he meowed. He took a few paw steps back up the slope, as the others followed. Feathertail suddenly noticed how easily they could be seen against the rocks, especially Squirrelpaw's dark ginger pelt and her own light gray fur. This is never gonna work. They're bound to spot us coming," she mewed anxiously. "Wait!" Squirrelpaw narrowed her eyes. "Why don't we roll ourselves in the mud? Then we'd look like the tribe cats, especially in the dark. It would help hide our scent, too." Tawnypelt gave her a look full of respect. "That has to be the best idea I've heard for a moon." Squirrelpaw's green eyes glowed, and she hurried back to the pool and began nosing around the edge. "There's plenty of mud here," she called, beginning to roll in a sticky patch to plaster her fur. Crowpaw's whiskers twitched in disgust as he and the others followed. Just the sort of idea she would dream up. Clever, though, he admitted, grudgingly. Feathertail winced as she padded to the edge of the pool and felt mud ooze around her paws. Cold seeped through to her skin as she lay down in the gluttonous hollow, thinking that at least her thick river-clan pelt was suited for getting wet. Crowpaw would be much more uncomfortable with his thin, wind-flattened fur, although for once he didn't complain. She blinked fondly at him, remembering what he'd said earlier about wanting to see her when they got home. Right now, she didn't want to ever let him out of her sight. Their pelts streaked and spiky with mud, the clan cats climbed back to the ridge down the slope on the other side, warily crossing back into the tribe's territory. Feathertail pricked her ears, alert for the sound of other cats, and they all stopped every few paces to sniff the air. Even with Squirrelpaw's disguise, there was a huge risk that they would be spotted, and no cat was sure how far the tribe cats would go to keep Stormfur. Feathertail knew how desperate they were that their ancestors' prophecy should come true. She and her friends could all be returning to their deaths. Brambleclaw's nose was almost touching the path as he sniffed out the scent trail from that morning. Feathertail had tried hard to remember the landmarks they had passed, but everything looked different in the gathering darkness. They were padding down a steep path between broken rocks when Crowpaw suddenly halted, his muzzle raised and his jaw parted. Then he whirled on Feathertail and pushed her behind a rock, signaling wildly with his tail for the other cats to hide too. A heartbeat later, Feathertail caught the same scent. Tribe cats! Peering out cautiously, she saw a patrol of lithe prey hunters bounding along the path in the same direction, their jaws filled with prey. Their escort of cave guards around them. She tensed, waiting for them to pick up the intruder's scent and turn to attack. But they passed their hiding place without a pause and disappeared into the darkness. Squirrelpaw's mud must have masked their scent, as they hoped. That's twice I saved you, Crowpaw teased, stepping away to let Feathertail stand up straight. She touched noses with him with a purr of amusement. I know. I won't forget it. Don't worry. Dude, they are so in love. Holy. I wish we could have seen, like, them fall in love rather than, like, the outside version of it. Like, what were their conversations like in private? I want to know. I want to know! Brambleclaw emerged from among the rocks at the other side of the path, signaling to the others to move on. This time, Tawnypelt brought up the rear, keeping a lookout behind in case more prey hunters were on their way home. The moon was rising over the topmost peaks, a fuzzy white glow behind the covering of clouds, when they came to the river. Still alert for the sounds of other tribe cats, they followed the rushing water until they heard the roar of the waterfall in the distance. Quiet now, Brambleclaw whispered. We're getting close. Silently, they padded on until they reached the top of the falls. Feathertail crouched at the edge of the river, watching the dark water slide over the lip of the rock. Then a flash of lightning split into the sky overhead, and above the thunder of the water she had heard a rumbling in the sky. storm's coming. Crowpaw breathed into her ear. A fat drop of rain landed on Feathertail's head, and she shook it off. The noise and confusion of a storm might help them, but then she wondered if it would drive more cats than usual into the cave. Stormfur was heavily guarded already. They couldn't hope to take on the whole tribe. "Let's go!" Squirrelpaw muttered impatiently. Lightning flashed and another roll of thunder crashed overhead as the cats peered down. Feathertail could just make out the foaming white of the water as it fell into the pool. Then she thought she saw movement in the darkness at the end of the path. "What's that?" Crowpaw had seen it too. As if in answer, another claw of lightning crackled along the sky. Feathertail heard Tawnypelt gasp in horror. For a single heartbeat that seemed to last forever, the white flash lit up the shape of a huge, tawny-colored cat slinking along the path. It paused as the thunder pounded in the sky, then padded on to disappear behind the waterfall. "Sharptooth!" Bum 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 ba bum bum ba bum bum. Crowpaw has angry, harmless, small friend energy. That kind of like, let me at him, let me at him. Chapter 15. But yeah, I know, right? Like, what? Maybe they have like a spin-off with like Crowfeather. I feel like there's a Crowfeather sequel, isn't there? Probably. Chapter 15. Something like that. Story of all his lovers. Chapter 15. A terrible shrieking broke out in the cave, slicing through the sound of the rain pattering around them, and even the noise of the falls. Feathertail sprang to her paws. Every hair on her pelt told her to flee as far from the cave as she could. Only the thought of danger that Stormfur was in made her stay where she was. "Come on!" Brambleclaw's voice was tense. The rest of the cats stared at him in disbelief. "Down there?" Crowpaw demanded. "Are you mouse-brained? Think!" Brambleclaw was already bounding towards the cave entrance. He paused and swung around to face the apprentice. "With Sharptooth in the cave, no cat will notice us. This might be our only chance to get Stormfur out." Without waiting to see if the others were following, he leaped down the rocks towards the path. "Still think he's crazy," muttered Crowpaw, but he followed all the same. Feathertail scrambled down after them, her paws sliding on the wet rocks, her claws scraping painfully as she tried to keep her balance. She ran along the ledge behind the falls, with barely enough time to be afraid of slipping and falling into the turbulent pool below. The screeching grew louder. Terror surged through Feathertail as she imagined what they would find inside the cave. Sharptooth might be sinking his fangs into Stormfur's neck at this very moment, clawing her brother's pelt and turning him to the fresh kill. She skidded into the cave and halted just behind Brambleclaw. For a moment she could hardly make sense of what she was seeing. With the moon covered by the clouds, the cave was almost dark. The huge shape of Sharptooth seemed to be everywhere at once, massive paws pounding on the floor as he sprang from wall to wall, blood splattering against his flanks, and saliva dripping from his jaws. This was more terrible than Feathertail had ever imagined. There was no way Stormfur could challenge this beast and survive. The tribe cats scattered, scrambling blindly out of their sleeping hollows. Feathertail caught a glimpse of Brooke, hustling a kit down the tunnel that led to the nursery, with another dangled from her jaw. Near the other tunnel, a cave guard was clinging to the huge lion cat's neck, only to be thrown off and flung against the wall with a sickening thud. The cave guard slid to the floor and lay still, a trickle of blood running from its mouth. While Feathertail stared in horror, 2 or 3 cats fled past her with shrill cries, blundering against the clan cats without realizing who they were. "This way!" Brambleclaw ordered. He looked at each clan cat in turn, his gaze resting longest on Squirrelpaw. "We have to do this for Stormfur," he reminded them. Sharptooth had pounded across to leap up the far wall of the cave, trying to reach the tribe cat who had cowered on a ledge just above the vicious claws. Skirting the cave walls, clinging to the darkest corners, Brambleclaw headed for the tunnel leading to the cave of pointed stones. Feathertail and the others followed. In the blackness, they stumbled against tribe cats, some wounded, others frozen in fear, but the terror and blood scent filling the cave were so strong that no cat recognized them. At the tunnel entrance, 2 cave guards still held their positions, their fur standing on end as their eyes stretched wide. Feathertail felt a flash of respect for their courage to stay there while all their tribe mates were running for their lives. Now! Brambleclaw and Crowpaw launched themselves at the cave guards, their claws slashing and their teeth bared. Squirrelpaw was only a heartbeat behind them. Feathertail heard an exclamation of astonishment from one of the guards and recognized Craig's voice. She saw Brambleclaw bowl him over and fasten his teeth in the cave guard's neck's fur, while Crowpaw cuffed the other guard on both ears, drawing him away from the tunnel entrance. Squirrelpaw sank her teeth into Craig's tail and held on. With the entrance clear, Feathertail and Tawny Pelt darted down the tunnel. Before they reached the cave of pointed stones, they met 2 other cats, barely visible in the darkness. With a surge of relief and joy, Feathertail recognized Stormfur's scent. The other cat was Stoneteller. She glimpsed his blazing eyes as he pelted past her and launched himself into the outer cave. Quick! Oh, quick! The tribe leader yowled to Stormfur. Your time has come! Oh, tribe of endless hunting, help us now! Feathertail! Stormfur exclaimed. What's happening? For a moment, Feathertail was content just to drink in his scent and twine her tail with his. She had been afraid they'd find the cave of pointed stones empty, that Stormfur would have already been sent out to do battle with the lion cat, and that his body would have been one of those bleeding in the corners of the cave. There's no time for that, Tawny Pelt snapped. Head for the entrance. Don't stop for anything. She dashed back down the tunnel, and Feathertail and Stormfur followed. As they reached the outer cave, a shriek ripped through the darkness, louder than thunder. A flash of lightning revealed Sharptooth backing towards the entrance. His jaws were clamped around a tribe cat. With a shudder of pure horror, Feathertail recognized Star, the kit mother who had spoken to them when they first arrived. Her mouth was open in a desperate, wordless yowl, and her claws scored the earth floor as she fought vainly to free herself. Then all was dark again. Feathertail saw the faint outline of the lion cat against the sheet of water as it whipped around and vanished through the entrance. For a heartbeat, a shocked silence filled the cave. Then a shrill wail of loss rose all around. Feathertail felt the cat nudge her roughly and spun around to see Brambleclaw. Out! Now! He rasped. They bounded towards the entrance with Squirrelpaw and Tawny Pelt hard on his paws. Crowpaw thrust Feathertail after him, though she did not move until she was sure Stormfur was following too. No cat tried to stop them. All the tribe were still gripped by terror, crouched low on the cave floor or gazing after Sharptooth with bristling fur and their eyes glazed with fear. At the entrance, Brambleclaw paused, sniffed the air, and then led the way along the path. Feathertail detected Sharptooth's scent, mingled with Star's fear scent and the reek of blood, but they were fading. The predator had gone, carrying its prey with him and leaving many more cats dead or wounded. Sheets of rain were falling steadily, gusted by the wind, and thunder rumbled out again overhead. Feathertail was soaked within a couple of heartbeats, her fur plastered to her body, but she scarcely noticed. She followed Brambleclaw up the rocks as he led the clan cats back to where they had come. Behind them, the tribe's heartbroken wailing died away, drowned in the pattering rain and the endless, unchanging roar of the waterfall. Okay, I think that's at least one death toll. Death toll +3. Lots of Wind Clan. No, that's too big. I feel like... Let's do 3+. We'll do 3+, and then it like... Oops, save. So it's like 3 that we can confirm, and the plus is all the other cats with no names that have died. That wasn't given like a count. That's the trouble when it's like, oh yeah, a dozen apprentices. Like, how many, like half of our apprentices. How many apprentices do you have in the first place? Or like, there were dead bodies everywhere. How many dead bodies? I don't know. Can I make the book cover?
But then it won't be in the corner. There. How many dead bodies we gotta know? Why won't they tell us? Sorry, I had to check something really quickly. Sorry, I have to... Okay. Sorry, I just checked something. Okay. We are 214. Should we crunch? Should we crunch to the end? Ah! Okay. I'll think about it. My tummy's a little funny, so I'm gonna eat some candy. I'm gonna hide it in the storage! Sorry, while I eat this soda pop candy. It was so weird when I first started reading. I had like this weird sharp pain in my side. I think it was because of the way I slept. Oh my god, guys, hold on. Something exciting just happened. Please. 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 Dang it! It was an old email. How dare you lie to me? Wait. Hold on one second. I was jebaited! Okay, why is it jebaited? What does the j supposed to mean? Why do they say jebaited? I did get an email. Okay, let me read this. 7 days, guys. 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. 7 days before something really, really super duper exciting happens. For me. Not for you guys, but for me! But then maybe later. Oh my gosh, I was thinking about something while I was reading. Now I remember what it is. So after I played that liminal space, the liminal space game with the pools, I've been like, I just see them. Like when I'm daydreaming, it's just like, I just see myself walking through the pools. Or like, when I'm like in bed, when I went to bed that night, it was all I could think about. I was like, I closed my eyes and that was all what I could see, walking through these dang pools.
and doors and like the weird lighting. Debated. Maybe that's his name? Weird. Well, the more you know. Guy's last name is Jabali. Oh, wow. It's so close to Jabated. That's cool. Sort of. I hope he's an okay guy and not, like, cancel worthy. Quote unquote.
Oh my god, Zachary, you followed me on Twitter too. Thanks! Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, what I was checking that wasn't the 7 days thing was, looks like we're gonna do a collab this Saturday.
How exciting is that?
Oh, wait. Not next Saturday. Oh, wait, that's like a month from now. Holy. Wow. All right. That's a lot of... Yeah, this is like early. This is Corey though. Corey is like insane at planning collabs. I feel like she plans her months out. Like, so she doesn't release weekly schedules, she releases monthly schedules with all of her collabs all done. So she plans them like super duper in advance. I'm gonna say tentatively. Problem is, that's when I'm probably gonna be moving in, like around that time. Lots of moving is happening. Tentatively saying yes, but when the... Tentatively right? You guys, like, when you don't think you spelled something right, do you Google it? I Google it. I did not spell it right. Alright. Not wanting to wrestle with Twitch to bike a clip? Chrome do the red squiggle. Sometimes the red I don't trust the red squiggle sometimes. I don't even trust my phone anymore. Like, sometimes it'll autocorrect and it's not even a word. Like, what are you doing? You're typoing a typo. Autocorrecting a typo to a typo. Like, why? 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 Evil. I've trained it. I've trained it to come up with its own evil typos. Evil. Okay, I've checked that. I'm wondering, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it. My attention is kind of faltering, but on the other hand, I don't know what else I'm gonna do tonight, so it's like...
Oh, thanks! That's so nice of you!
I do try to do that as much as possible. I hope you keep making streamers happy with your little messages. That's very thoughtful of you. I just ate... I'm so sorry. I just ate a gummy bear, and it's like the weirdest flavor. Like maybe it's like... I don't even know.
You know what? I would believe you.
I think that somebody that goes around doing that would be doing it for a while.
Like, they just feel... Do you feel good when you do it?
I hope you do. Because I'm sure you make a lot of people happy.
Guys, I'm tempted to... I don't know. Should I... Okay, here's what I'm thinking. Either one, I read another chapter and then I end it. Two, I end it now but then start a new stream so that I can archive this easier and then do whatever I want on the other stream, but I don't know what I want to do on that other stream. Three, I just end now. Just want to be nice, spread positivity, and want to make streamers know they are appreciated. Thank you. I hope that you know that chatters or even lurkers, if you are a lurker on normal time, are also appreciated. Just like you. Just like you. Palia, 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 palia. I guess I could do a chatting palia stream. Alright. Alright, I'm gonna... okay. Let me see how long this chapter is. This is a very long chapter. Bye! Thank you! Thank you for dropping by. I hope you have a wonderful day. Yeah, I think this is a good stopping point. The next chapter is going to be in Leaf Paw's POV anyways. Okay, I'm gonna end and then I'm gonna start again really fast. All right? Bye, guys! Bye, 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 bye. We need the outro, just, you know, just for video's sake, you know? All right. Bye. See you in a minute.